I'm going with Terence Crawford. You know, big weight jump, a dangerous fight, but somebody's got to prove to me that they can break Terence Crawford's will.
Canelo lands good punches. I think Canelo could hurt Crawford. Crawford's, first time in that division and jumping 2 divisions.
Against lesser competition. He knocks him the hell out. Canelo doesn't finish these guys, and he doesn't look good beating them. Shout out to the judges. The judges make Canelo look good.
Andre Ward hails Terence Crawford as one of boxing's most dangerous finishers and explains why he believes Crawford could overwhelm Canelo Alvarez. Ward points out that whenever Crawford spots weakness or sees an opponent hurt, he never lets them recover. Instead, he unleashes non-stop pressure with sharp combinations and perfect timing until the fight is closed. Ward says this killer instinct separates Crawford from most fighters, making him a threat at any moment of a bout. For Canelo, dealing with such a fighter means one mistake or lapse could result in a sudden and brutal ending.
I'm going with Terence Crawford. Big weight jump, a dangerous fight, but somebody's got to prove to me that they can break Terence Crawford's will and that he can't figure it out against you. It ain't no disrespect toward Canelo, but I've said this the last couple of years. I'm not betting against Terence Crawford against nobody right now. You got to show me that you can beat him.
Andre Ward shows deep respect for both Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez as they prepare to face each other. He emphasizes that this showdown is more than a payday, but a fight where both men are risking their legacies. Ward admires the courage it takes for 2 champions with so many accomplishments to gamble it all against one another. He notes that matchups like this lift the sport by giving fans a genuine clash of greatness. To Ward, this fight symbolizes the very best of boxing, and he truly respects and values both fighters' commitment.
Man, what's up, fight fans? It's official. I'm going to be the 3rd man ringside calling the Canelo Alvarez-Terence Crawford fight September 13th at Allegiant Stadium. I'm excited to be a part of this event. I'm excited to be ringside calling this great card and this great matchup. Historic event for many, many reasons for both fighters. Super middleweight supremacy on the line. Legacies on the line. Your namesake and reputation is on the line. And I just take my hat off to both of these fighters for putting everything on the line late in their careers the way that they are. This is rare, and it's becoming more and more rare in boxing. Guys don't want this kind of smoke. They really don't want to face another counterpart that can ruin everything that they've built. And it really don't matter how much money's on the table for a lot of guys. They'd rather take a lesser risk for less money than to risk everything like these 2 fighters are doing. So I take my hat off to them. And I also want to give a shout out to Turki Al-Sheikh for all that he's done to put this fight on. Dana White for all that he's done to put this fight on. And one more person that stays out the way and you don't really hear a lot about, but that has done a lot to make this fight happen as well. And that's my brother, Nick Khan. He just gets stuff done, man. And I want to thank him and shout him out as well for getting this done. So I'll see y'all in Vegas, man. Part of me wants to be home watching this fight in street clothes, but I got to take the street clothes off. I got work to do. I got to put that suit on, get ringside with John and Max, and call this fight like I know we can. Huge event, huge implications, historic night, and I'm happy to be a part. I hope to see you in Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. If not, man, tune in live on Netflix.
Robert Garcia shared his perspective on Canelo Alvarez, stressing that the Mexican star has not looked at his sharpest in recent bouts. Garcia observed that Canelo seemed slower in both hand speed and footwork, making him appear less threatening than in his prime. For a fighter like Terence Crawford, who excels at exploiting timing and precision, this carries serious importance. Garcia believes these flaws create a real chance for Crawford to impose his style. If Canelo cannot regain his former sharpness, Crawford's speed, angles, and adaptability could prove decisive. Garcia's remarks mirror wider concerns that Canelo may be past his peak, leaving room for Crawford to take advantage.
Jumping 2 divisions where he only had 1 fight at 154 and didn't look his best either. So there's a lot of questions, about that. And that's why a lot of people think Canelo is going to knock out Crawford. But I'm probably one of the only ones that I do give Crawford a chance. Yeah. I think Crawford could pull it off. Crawford is very talented. He's very fast. He's very smart in the ring. So I think a perfect fight, Crawford could pull off a decision.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think he could win a decision. I don't pick him. I wouldn't put my money on him winning because it's a very dangerous, risky fight, especially with Canelo being so strong. But Canelo's last few performances, he's looked slow, flat-footed, looking for one punch at a time. And if that's the Canelo that fights Crawford, Crawford could win a decision. Crawford could outbox him, could outsmart him, could land 3-4 punch combinations and move and win a decision. So do I give Crawford a chance? 100% think Crawford could pull it off. Would I put my money on it? Probably not, but I do give him a chance.
Yeah, good stuff. Look, Robert, appreciate you taking time to speak to me. I appreciate you letting me in the gym today. Always a pleasure. And yeah, hopefully be catching up sometime soon.
Thanks
appreciate
for coming.
it. Thank
you
you.
very
Cheers.
much.
Teddy Atlas, one of boxing's most respected analysts, voiced concerns about Canelo Alvarez's training methods ahead of his bout with Terence Crawford. Atlas suggested that Canelo is pushing himself beyond what's needed for an already taxing camp. He argued that bringing in Jaron Ennis, a young and explosive welterweight, might be overdoing it. According to Atlas, training smart matters as much as training hard. And Canelo's approach could end up draining more than it builds. His warning implies that by overextending himself, Canelo risks arriving on fight night with less in the tank, opening the door for a sharp fighter like Crawford.
So I avoided that. I would bring in specific sparring partners that, A, knew how to be a sparring partner. Yeah, if I wanted some, I went over to him before the day started. Listen, I want you to do this. All right. I'm paying him. I have the right to do that. I want you to move more today. I want you to, you know what? I want you to press him a little. You know what? There was a fight I was getting a guy ready for, and I was worried about the first couple rounds. So I said, when the bell rings, I want you to rush out of the corner and go right after him. And I was, obviously I had my guy ready because we were getting ready for that kind of fight plan, for the possibility that the opponent would come out that way. So I wouldn't look to get a boots Ennis. I mean, nothing wrong with that's what they want. That's fine. And I get it, the style, the size, the length. I understand. It's not a bad pick from that point of view. But for me, again, I never go down that road because I got my guy getting ready for a fight. I don't want to leave it in the gym. I don't want to get into that kind of war in the gym. No, I want to have control of all aspects of what the hell I'm doing in the gym to get ready for one night. So no, I wouldn't do that. I'd get the right sparring partners. If I thought I had a guy, I get guys that my guy could work with, and if he was having an off day, he could kind of, have his way and do what he wanted with the guy. I'd have one of them. I'd probably have 3 guys, sometimes 4, depending on where we were at, with the calendar when the fight was coming up.
Building on his earlier point, Teddy Atlas warned that Canelo's toughest fights may already be happening in the gym. He believes Canelo is sparring at a level so intense it may impress observers but risks taking away from his best performance on fight night. Atlas explained that fighters have limited reserves physically and mentally, and if those are burned up in camp, the consequences can be costly. He compared it to delivering your peak performance in training rather than saving it for the actual event. For Crawford, this could work to his advantage, as a fatigued or less explosive Canelo would struggle against his sharp and relentless style once the bell rings.
And a lot has been taken out of you in the gym. You left it in the gym. And we heard that Jaron Boots Ennis was getting the best of Canelo Alvarez in his sparring sessions. That he possibly gave him a black eye. We saw the knot on his head. That was just a week ago. The fight is next week, next Saturday. So 3 weeks out from the fight, and you having this hard sparring sessions with Jaron Boots Ennis, who wants to prove a point. Leave no doubt. Jaron Ennis is going into those sparring sessions not just to be a sparring partner, but to gauge where he stands against a legend and a Hall of Famer and a superstar like Canelo Alvarez, to understand where he can get better and understand that he can actually compete on that level. So make no mistake about it. Jerron Boots Ennis wasn't in there to lay down. Now, he had a job to do. He was there for a specific reason, which is to give Canelo looks that Terence Crawford could possibly give him. But you best believe, in those sparring sessions, he gonna give what he have. He gonna test the waters to see where he stands, right? Not just to help Canelo, not just to be a dummy. There's a reason you bring in a high-profile fighter. And so Teddy Atlas believes this is a huge mistake on Canelo Alvarez's part, because now he has possibly left it in the gym. And now he got to go into battle with Terence Crawford. So it's like having 2 fights in a matter of 3 weeks. And your body's going to show the wear and tear.
One of the key themes in breaking down this fight is Canelo Alvarez's lasting punching power. Even when he appears slower or less mobile, his ability to land punishing shots forces opponents to stay cautious. Many who face Canelo spend most of the bout in survival mode, prioritizing defense over offense. This is why some of his fights go the distance, not because he can't finish, but because opponents rarely take risks. Against Terence Crawford, however, that approach could backfire. Crawford has repeatedly shown he can dismantle defensive fighters with clever traps, patient setups, and explosive bursts. If Canelo counts only on his power to hold Crawford back,
and no, for sure. I mean, we all see that fucking Canelo got power. That's the same reason why, at the same time, Canelo ends up going a distance with a lot of these guys, because these guys are just on survivor mode, you know? They're not trying to fight back. They're not trying to win. They're just surviving, which is hard to knock somebody out that's just surviving, you know? So I feel like Canelo's power is definitely there. I just think it's just a matter of how Crawford reacts when he feels it, you know? Is he gonna be one of those survivors, or is he gonna actually, you know?
No, I think Crawford will go out on the shield. I think he's gonna fight and go out like a warrior.
At the same time, I feel like he does that, then it gives Canelo a chance to be able to clip him, you know? More of a chance.
Well, Turkey said no more Tom and Jerry. I don't expect him to run.
I mean, I don't expect him to run, but at the same time, it's boxing, you know? It's boxing, it's hit and don't get hit, swim and not get
Is
wet,
that what Haney did when he fought Jose
Ramirez?
Ramirez?
But that's a different type of.
Is that what William Skoll did when he fought Canelo?
Yeah, you see, I feel like it just comes. I feel like when you watch Bivol versus Better Beef, the second fight, that's great boxing right there.
Another point analysts raise is the level of Canelo's recent wins. While he has maintained his strong record, critics argue those victories lacked the dominance of his prime. Instead of emphatic stoppages, they often resembled tactical grindouts where size and strength played a bigger role than sharp boxing skills. Terence Crawford, by contrast, brings a far broader arsenal into the ring. His ability to switch stances, sharp punching, smooth footwork, and elite ring IQ create constant problems for opponents. Where Canelo often leans on physical power and pressure, Crawford's layered skill set allows him to control pace and dictate terms. This difference in attributes has many experts leaning toward Crawford despite Canelo's stature and accomplishment.
He knocks them the hell out. Canelo doesn't finish these guys, and he doesn't look good beating them. You know, shout out to the judges. The judges make Canelo look good for the past 6 fights. And so now we sit here, you know, what is Canelo going to do against Crawford? And while some of you are saying, you know, domination and weight, really the only thing that I hear is his weight, his power, his weight, his power, his weight, his power. And that's all that he has. But when I get to talking about Crawford, we'll dive into that.
Well, to Byron's point, the last super quality fight that Canelo had was against Dimitri Bivol, and we all know what happened with that. You know,
no, I thought Caleb Plant was a good opponent. I thought Caleb Plant was a good opponent.
Well, it was Caleb Plant, then it was Bivol.
Yeah, right.
Plant, then Bivol.
Well, don't forget to point out that Bivol came down, right?
No, that was 175.
Canelo went up.
Canelo went up.
So that kind of puts Canelo at a disadvantage, right? He tested.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to say that, if you want to say that,
I mean, you know,
I can.
But I mean, I'm not saying that that's an excuse for him for losing. I'm just saying, hey, you know, if you're gonna test yourself to be great, you gotta wear the consequence.
So let me ask. So no, you're right, 100%. But let me ask you a question. I'm just asking because I don't know. Like, so when you watching that fight, did you think it was a weight issue, or did you think it was more of a skill and boxing thing when watching that fight with Bivol and Canelo?
I thought he was outclassed.
I agree. Yeah, it was
outclassed,
and it looked like he was being outclassed by basic fundamental boxing.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So that was my point. That's what I'm trying. I don't think Bival's weight had anything to do with him, because Bival's not a knockout artist.
And this legendary power that y'all speak of, this ass-taking Zeus god power that he has, it did not show in that fight.
Gabe Rosado, however, favors Canelo Alvarez in this matchup, pointing mainly to Canelo's proven experience on the biggest stages. Rosado highlights that from early in his career, Canelo has consistently fought elite names under the brightest lights, building a resume full of high-pressure moments. For Crawford, this would mark his first time in a fight of such enormous global scale. While Rosado respects Crawford's talent, he believes experience is the deciding factor when the stakes are this high. For that reason, he gives the advantage to Canelo, trusting his track record under intense spotlight.
I favor Canelo. Not by a lot, but I do favor him. I just think that, I think the skull fight was just a bad style. And I think Canelo was like, why force the issue? You know what I mean? I'm up. This guy's running. I'm not gonna take a chance. So I think that it was that kind of fight for Canelo. But Marjamov did give Crawford problems. You know what I'm saying? And where I felt like, damn, at 54, he gave you problems. 68 is different. You know what I'm saying? So you going up 3 weight classes, because he was 47, 54, 60, 68. That's 3 weight classes. It's a major difference, man. And, one thing is like, right, so people are saying Canelo has problems with movers. But the reality is Crawford's not a mover. Crawford's not a fighter that fights on his feet in the sense of boxing, kind of like, let's say, how a Pernell Whitaker would box or how Landy Lara would box. Crawford is a fighter that works on angles. He's not on his feet like Muhammad Ali. You know what I'm saying? He's not that kind of boxer. So he's going to be there to get hit, And I feel like that favors Canelo, because Canelo's going to hit you in the arms. He's going to hit you in the elbows. He's going to hit anything you give him, he's going to take it. You know what I mean? And now, is Crawford just going to switch his style and become a mover, moving up 3 weight classes? So now you're going to put all that weight on your legs, and you never boxed like that before. How can you do that?
Showbiz the adult raised what he calls the Canelo May curse. He noted that every May, Canelo tends to deliver flatter performances, often looking rusty after long layoffs since his usual September bouts. By contrast, September showcases his sharper form, like the dominant showing against Jermall Charlo. Fans often criticize his May outings, such as those versus John Ryder or William Skull, as underwhelming. This pattern could favor Canelo if the Crawford fight lands in September. Still, doubts about Crawford also exist. Critics point to his performance against Israil Madrimov, where he looked solid but not overwhelmingly dominant at the higher weight. His power seemed less destructive, and his movement lacked some of the fluidity he displayed in lighter divisions. Analysts argue that if Crawford showed any vulnerability there, stepping in against a seasoned, bigger, and more durable fighter like Canelo will be an even tougher task. While Crawford has the tools to outbox him, the question remains whether he can maintain his edge against a naturally stronger opponent. That's a storyline only the ring can answer.
In May, Mexican Independence Day, September. And in May, he always has a bad performance called the Canelo May curse. And come September, it's a better performance. His best performances are in September because since he only fights once a year, after September, it's a long layoff until May again, which is kind of like his tune-up fight where he looks rusty. I gotta see if this is true. So I brought up the box rec, and I want to go through this with you guys to see if it's actually true. Now, if it is, that's bad news for Terence Bud Crawford, right? So let's look at this. May, William Skull. We're going to go from recent to the past. William Skull, May. We all know that was a horrible performance to the point where people think Saul Canelo Alvarez is, he's not looking right. He's finally starting to kind of go down in his abilities, right? And all those things. And this is kind of like the end of his career type of thing. He's in worse shape than Terence Bud Crawford because of this performance. And I've heard people say that before, and I'm wondering if that's every May. So William Skull, bad performance, May. September, good performance, Edgar Berlanga.
Lightning strike!
Okay, we all know that was a good performance. Everybody was excited about that fight. Jaime Munguia, May! He's been very criticized about going 12 with Jaime Munguia, right? He knocked him down, but going 12 with Jaime Munguia, and people saw that as a horrible performance from Saul Canelo Alvarez. I actually liked that fight. They were going at it, but people say.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned, and we'll catch you next time.